Views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Welcome to the Heartline, D.C.'s live forum about issues faced by the homeless and the poor in the nation's capital. I'm Mike Cortese at the mic, host of the Heartline, the president of Gospel Rescue Ministries, a faith-based rescue center located near Chinatown for poor and homeless men and women. And we've got a show for you today. Latoya, how you doing? My co-host, Latoya Doster.
I'm doing well. Good morning to all of our listeners.
Good morning. We also have Reverend George E. Holmes here, and he's a member of President Barack Obama's National African American Clergy Leadership Network. How are you doing, Reverend?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Well, you know, it's tough out there right now. I was driving last night and I was watching the people line up for the $4 plus gas that we've got now in the tanks. And now I read an article in the Washington Post on the front page, and it was talking about running on empty, which is kind of appropriate when you think about the gas prices right now. But it's an interesting contrast that's taken place in the country, because you read the anecdotes about people suffering, and you see the suffering. We especially see it every day at Gospel Rescue Ministries. But then I read the Wall Street Journal, and the contrast: hedge funds bounce back. It seems that some sectors are still doing very well and that they have recovered from the recession. And there's a certain irony to the sectors that have recovered so quickly from the recession and those who have not. And I just wonder sometimes about what direction the country is going as far as where we are with equity, where we are with the disparity between those who have and those who don't have. And today we're going to be talking to a gentleman who has experience in the human rights and the social justice arena. In fact, he was nominated for three, not one, not two, three nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize. He currently serves as the founder and Secretary General of the Interparliamentary Conference on Human Rights and Religious Freedom, and it just goes on and on. We are talking, of course, about Dr. Joseph K. Grabowski, and we're just delighted to have him here. Good morning, Doctor. How are you?
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
And this is just an amazing set of accomplishments. I read this CV, and I'm just overwhelmed. And in April 2010, you were inducted into the International Board of Sponsors of the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel at Morehouse College. That must have been an incredible honor for you.
One of the most amazing moments of my life.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But I want to give you our number. If you'd like to call in and talk to Dr. Grabowski or Latoya Doster or Reverend Holmes, we're all here to talk to you. And that number is 1-800-450-7876. Again, that number is 1-800-450-7876. So, Dr. Grabowski, let's talk about the Institute on Religion and Public Policy. How did the Institute get started?
I got fired from my last job. Nobody else would hire me, so I thought I'd start something of my own.
Well, you know, they say one window closes, another one opens, right?
Exactly.
It's interesting how that does happen.
I had been working for another organization running their religious liberty program.
Right.
And that organization was the Washington arm of a Chicago-based group. And the Chicago-based group decided to shut down our office, and I kept going to work because the mission wasn't going to end simply because the organization was.
Right.
You know, religious liberty is not something that we easily think about in the United States. It's something we very much take for granted. But just because the organization was going to stop didn't mean the mission would.
And you just continued on with your passion for this work?
Just kept doing it.
And you've got your lovely wife in the studio today, and I know that she works with you on a lot of these issues. And
she's the one that makes it possible for me to go and do the other things that the Institute does. It's with her, her strength and stability that we can go out there and fight the mission, fight the fight.
With so many people losing their jobs and suffering in our economy today, talk a little bit about what your mindset and how it has helped propel you forward is in terms of how you face these kind of crises and these challenges in your life.
You know, the economic downturn we're going through now isn't the first one that it's been through in my lifetime. It certainly won't be the last. And we deal with so many things in our lives, whether it's bad economies, bad relationships, bad family issues. You know, we all have something that we deal with. There's always something that is the potential to bring us down. But if we don't have a stable force, if we don't have something that makes us stronger, whether it's our belief, whether it's ourselves, whether it's, something other than us that allows us and gives us the strength to be able to move up, move forward, and fight through the difficult times. And that really is the only way that we'll get through it, is if we fight it. If we let things get us down, we'll stay down.
There you go. And we've set the stage for talking about that intersection of religion and public policy. Where are we today with that, and where are you at in particular?
It's a great question that you bring up about the relationship between religion and public policy in America today. We have a very divided, very angry population, divided between left and right politically, divided over just about anything. And everything that is said or done anymore seems to be placed within a certain political context and either exploited or berated. And we need to find those voices. We need to listen more to those voices that come out of the religious community that say it's not about one or the other. It's not about and or. It's about both and. That we all have to work together. We all have to cooperate together, regardless of what our religious identities are, if we're going to overcome and surmount the problems that society faces. Homelessness, bad economy, drugs. You pick it, we've got a problem. But only if we work together. And again, regardless of what our religious identity is, we have to work together to solve those problems.
Well, Dr. Grabowski, I've gotten now to a ripe old age enough to realize that a lot of times what I thought when I was younger were issues that people just didn't see clearly enough on and understand enough in the political arena about. I've come to learn that they understand, but it's not in their interest, on their agenda to take care of the issues. And I just wonder how we got to this place where we have such tremendous gridlock in the nation today. And is it possible that we may need to go to another arena to even address these issues? Maybe there'll have to be leadership coming from a more spiritual background rather than the politicos who don't seem to be able to work together any longer. And I'm giving you a lot here, but just to kind of place the context here before you.
Sure. The political community has a way to solve its own problems if it chooses to do so. And the question is whether or not politicians want to have the strength of mind, the strength of purpose, and the strength of courage not to get reelected to do the right thing.
Right.
And where that voice comes and where that issue comes is less from the politicians but from us. If we have problems with the political world, we're the only ones to blame because we're the ones who send them there.
Well, let me ask you, Dr. Grabowski, how successful has the Institute been in being that voice that the politicos, the political heads, as we call them, have been able to listen to? Have they listened? Are they listening? Because I know you've had a lot of extensive background in international policy, foreign policy, and counterterrorism. Are they hearing the voice?
Some do, to be honest. Some do, some don't. The issue of religious freedom is not one that people easily understand or accept.
Even though it's been around forever?
Well, and that's the funny part. I like to say that, from the Judeo-Christian worldview, the first act of violence was religious persecution.
Right.
Cain killing Abel.
Right.
It was all about, God liking one sacrifice over the other. So our very first human act of violence was religious persecution. This is not a new thing for us. But we don't see it as... And our political leaders don't always see it as the immediate issue that it places for us, especially in a post-9/11 world, in a post-9/11 context.
Which is actually very ironic that you were saying that, because internationally right now, across the pond, we're hearing of women who are unable to wear their burqas. Right. And we're hearing of the Christian missionaries who are getting killed in Indonesia. Right. How is it that we've been ignoring this, or should I say, have we been ignoring this for so long?
The issue hasn't been ignored. In 1998, the United States Congress unanimously passed something called the International Religious Freedom Act. Right. Mm-hmm. And the act placed, at least nominally, religious freedom as among one of the top 5 priorities of U.S. foreign policy. And among other things, created an ambassador at large for international religious freedom, who heads a religious freedom office within the State Department.
Right. We had her on our show last week, actually. Yeah.
Now, with that office being created, I know since having this show, we have been able to allow our listeners to be exposed to a lot bigger of a range of what the government allows. Well, but we'll get back to that.
We're going to have to pick that up right after the break. Don't go away. You're listening to the Heartline.
1450 WOL, where information is power.
Good morning. This WOL traffic update is brought to you by Walgreens. Inbound New York Avenue, the water main work continues after Montana Avenue in the 2 right lanes now. Watch for delays now back from the Times plant. Inbound New York Avenue after North Capitol Street. The center lane was blocked for a pothole crew. And inbound New York Avenue before 9th Street Northeast, construction blocks the right lane. So inbound New York Avenue, a tough ride late this morning. The Easter Bunny shops Walgreens, where he gets M&M's chocolates, candies, and Starburst jelly beans, and gets back on the trail in no time. Simplify your Easter